Are you working as a paralegal and wondering how to take the next step? Maybe you already love working in law. You enjoy the clients, you enjoy the cases, the documents, the problem solving, and the feeling that your work really matters. But you don't want to stay in the same role forever. You want to qualify. You want more responsibility. You want to be recognised as a lawyer. Now, this is the point where a lot of paralegals hit a difficult question. Do I have to leave my job and go back to university to make that happen? Now, traditionally, when people wanted to qualify as a lawyer, they had to go to university to study law, get a law degree, or do a conversion course if their degree was in another subject, and then they'd move through the stages of training as a solicitor. And for some people, that route works really well, but it doesn't work for everyone. What if you're already working in law and you don't want to leave your job? What if you've spent months, years building experience in a firm, a legal department, or a specialist area? What if you're learning every day from the people who are around you? What if your job is not just a stepping stone, but something that you genuinely value? And just as importantly, what if you need the income? Maybe you've got rent or mortgage to pay. Maybe you've got children and family responsibilities. So you might not be in a position where you can just stop working full time, study full time, and take on all of the financial pressure that comes with that. The good news is that the traditional university route is no longer the only option. If you're working as a paralegal, there are other routes that are worth being aware of. Now, one option is to pursue qualifying as a solicitor under the SQE route. Now, under this particular route, you don't necessarily need a law degree to qualify as a solicitor. What you do need is a degree in any subject or an equivalent qualification. You then need to pass the Solicitors Qualifying Exam Part 1, SQE 1 and SQE 2. You need to complete 2 years of qualifying work experience and meet the character and suitability requirements to qualify as a solicitor. Now, importantly, if you're already working as a paralegal, some of your legal work can actually count towards the qualifying work experience. So for some paralegals, the SQE route can be a great way to work towards qualifying as a solicitor without having to leave your job and go back to university to study full time. But it does need some careful thought, because the SQE exams are very demanding, the fees can be pretty high, and many people end up having to pay for preparation courses and study materials anyway. So whilst the SQE route can be flexible, it can nonetheless be a little bit of a marathon. Now, another route worth exploring is CILEX. Now, CILEX stands for the Chartered Institute of Legal Executives, and what it does is it offers a way to becoming qualified as a lawyer while continuing to work. In fact, it's designed that way. So rather than stepping away from your role, you study alongside it. So you keep earning, you keep gaining practical legal experience, and you keep building your career in the area of law that you're already working in. You see, through CILEX, you qualify as a specialist lawyer with practice rights in your chosen area of specialism. So you're not a solicitor, so you don't have the broad practice rights that a solicitor does, but you have the same practice rights as a solicitor in your chosen area of law. Now, that could be an area like conveyancing, probate, family law, criminal litigation, employment law, and so on. But it means you're not having to study as broadly as the solicitor route. And so for many people, that makes CILEX a much more realistic option. So if you're already working in law and thinking, I want to qualify, but I can't just drop my job to go back to university, well, don't just assume that there's one route to becoming a lawyer. You might be able to work towards becoming a solicitor by going down the SQE route, or CILEX might be a better fit for your career, for your finances, and for the area of law that you want to specialise in. Now, if you want to find out more, we have got a complete and thorough SQE versus CILEX guide that you can read. In order to access that, just click the link in the description.